Get it started. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's session. The Community Service Project that the STC holds every couple of years is one of the most important aspects of the value that our members bring as an industry. And it really showcases the goodness of individual members contributing to worthy organizations across the globe. I'm really happy to have CNIB Lake Joe be the partner for this year's community service project. We have an opportunity to do this because of the giving from our members, both supplies and operations, as well as cash donations. So if you're thinking about making a cash donation, we'll have a link at the end of the webinar in order to send it out. I know that many of you have already made donations already, but this is something that we're very close to our goal, and every little bit helps when it comes to such a great organization that we're partnering with. So first, a few housekeeping items. The session's being recorded and all participant lines are muted. We have an opportunity here to welcome Monique Pilkington. Monique celebrated 31 years at CNIB. She is from Sudbury, Ontario, and joined CNIB Lake Joe in 2016 as Executive Director. Monique believes CNIB Lake Joe offers life-changing experiences for people with sight loss and their families, bringing people from across Canada together to create community, build independence, and enable people of all ages to live life fully through recreation, sports, and skill development. What a wonderful organization. Monique was drawn to the magic of camp at a young age and enjoys sharing her passion for camp with guests, staff, and volunteers at CNIB Lake Joe. So now I'd like to turn things over to Monique to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Dan. I had a few technical issues at the beginning. Can everyone hear me all right? Awesome. Thank you so much. Just in the nick of time. I'm so pleased to be with everyone today, and really appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy days to join us. We've really been looking forward to this opportunity to join you, to be able to extreme gratitude for all that you've done to help support us. And really excited to share a little bit about CNIB Lake Joe with you today. So CNIB Lake Joe is the only fully accessible camp for people with sight loss in Canada, and has been providing enriching camp experiences since 1961. At CNIB Lake Joe, children are encouraged to shine, youth are empowered to thrive, and kids of all ages enjoy recreational pursuits. Located in the heart of Muskoka, Ontario, we welcome over 1,600 visitors each year, including nearly 700 campers, with more participants from across Canada than ever before. And we have international participants and volunteers as well. This year is our 60th anniversary, and since the very beginning, people with sight loss and their families have come to CNIB Lake Joe to enjoy the same summer pursuits as other Canadians: canoeing, water skiing, swimming, sailing, outdoor cooking, team sports, and so much more. Thanks to our incredible supporters, like our friends from the STC, we are expanding our programs and updating our facilities to ensure guests enjoy a fully accessible experience with opportunities for recreation, relaxation, and most of all, fun. CNIB Lake Joe is a place where people who are blind or partially sighted can safely challenge their perceptions of their abilities, realize their potential, and find their voice to advocate for themselves and help educate others. So again, thank you so much, and it's back over to you, Dan.
Thank you so much, Monique. We lost a little bit of it, but certainly understand the power of your organization and the impact that it has on people's lives, especially in Canada. And so we're very grateful to be partnering with you. Now is the time that I'd like to recognize all of the member donors to date. I apologize in advance. This is a long list, but I don't really apologize because of the incredible generosity that you've shown in this community service project. So now I'd like to go through the individual member donors and individuals as well. Act Global, ARL Logistics, Armacell, AstroTurf, Covermaster, CRM, DKE Enterprises, Don and Low, Durham Artificial Grass, ELA Sport, Foresight Design, Forever Lawn of Tampa Bay, Garden City Groundskeeping, Toronto Artificial Turf, Greens Groomer Worldwide, Heavenly Greens, Helms Landscape Design, HPN, Matex, Precision Jet Turf Bond, Ross Tarrant Architects, Select Engineering Consultants, SMG Equipment, Sportswork Design, Sports Turf Care, Sports Turfs International, Sports Edge Rubber Trails, Sportsfield Specialties, STC Spinwers, Sinlawn, Sinlock Adhesives, Synthetic Surfaces, Techmer PM, Tenkata Grass Americas, Traverse Landscape Architects, Turf Dr. Phil, UTT, Universal Textile Technologies, and US Green Tech. And now I'd like to thank all of our companies that have donated and also recognize member donors too, Robert Block, Rick Doyle, and Melanie Taylor as well. So I want to thank everyone for their generosity. It's incredible the outpouring of support that we've received. We're so close to reaching our goals. On the cash funds to date, as of today, we've reached almost $9,000 US in cash donations from STC members, about 35% toward our goal of 25,000 in cash donations by the end of July. So all STC project donors are recognized equally, as you know, and in the mantra that together we succeed. I think this is a great example of individuals and companies coming together in order to support a great organization. So now I'd like to pass it over to Mark Clementi to report on the project status and timeline. Mark, take it away.
All right, thanks, Dan. First thing I want to say is that the support we have received from the STC members has been incredible. The project value is well over $300,000 and we are roughly 85% funded, which considering this all started in mid-November, we've come a long way in a short period of time. We broke ground last week and I was on site today with Mr. Robert Hawk, and our site is at subgrade and we're ready to go. Impressive work was done last week. The base and drainage contractor starts on June the 7th, with the base completion scheduled for June 18th or sooner. The installation of synthetic turf soccer pitch will follow along with the field netting system. Installation of the synthetic turf, installation of the synthetic turf golf or mini golf will start sometime in late June, early July, as well as the installation of the scoreboard. Things are moving along quickly. We have some funding shortfalls as Dan has suggested for aggregate, logistics, drainage, and site civil works, although donations have been coming in regularly and I don't see us missing that. I'd like to thank everyone who's joining us today and thank you again for the support for such a great project for CNIB Lake Joe. Thanks. I guess I'm passing it to Sherry from CNIB.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mark. So my name's Sherry and I'm the manager of community engagement at CNIB Lake Joe. And I have to say, this is one of the favorite parts of my job. It's the best part of my job. It's my privilege to introduce Emily Shevers, a past CNIB Lake Joe camper and now a wonderful CNIB Lake Joe colleague. She's also a student, a competitive athlete, a disabilities advocate who is joining us today to share her personal story about sight loss and the magic of camp at CNIB Lake Joe. So Emily, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you, Sherry, for the wonderful introduction. Well, might be getting a little bit of feedback. So as Sherry mentioned, I am currently an early childhood education student at Mohawk College. I am the co-founder of a social media campaign called True Faces that I started alongside my sister to advocate for the disabled community. And I also happen to currently be a tandem cyclist for Team Ontario. Oh yeah, and on top of that, I am legally blind. So I have a vast experience in sports. I used to play goalball, which is a sport designed specifically for blind athletes, which I'll get a little bit more into later. And I also used to be a gymnast and gymnastics coach. I'm currently a CNIB ambassador, events volunteer, National Youth Council member, and have basically been involved in CNIB my whole life. I didn't first hear about Lake Joe until about 2017, and it was the greatest blessing of my life. And I'm so happy to be a CNIB Lake Joe staff member for the past 2 or 3 years. So to start off, like I said, I am legally blind. So I was born with a genetic condition called cone dystrophy, which essentially just means that the cones in your retina are misshaped. You guys got a little bit of ice cream. I got a lot of ice cream. And basically the result of this is that I have about 10% remaining vision. I'm very light sensitive. I can't see distance, and I also happen to be colorblind. When people usually ask me about like what I see, it's very hard to describe to people. There is a lot of like blurriness, and for me, I just can't see very far. What you can see at 20 or 200 feet, I can see at 20. So I am constantly baffled by what everybody else can see, but this is what I have known my entire life, and I would not change it. So before I came to CNIB Lake Joe, I had been to a lot of local day camps, but I had never been to an overnight camp, let alone an overnight camp by myself that is 2.5 hours away from my house. If I did go somewhere, I usually had a parent with me. So if I went on school field trips, there was always a parent who came with me because they knew essentially what I needed when I was away from home. So whether that be a sighted guide, so somebody whose elbow I hold when we walk around in rough terrain, or whether it was just somebody to read menus to me, because those are just some simple tasks that aren't always easy from the perspective of somebody with low vision. I also hadn't had many involvement in the blind and visually impaired community before my time at Lake Joe. I grew up in a very rural area and didn't know anybody else in my community who was blind or visually impaired, especially around my age. So now I've come to know some of the people in my community who do have low vision, but most of them are in their 60s, 70s, and I love them to death, but it's not the same as having a youth or somebody your age who is visually impaired. So I first went to CNIB Lake Joe in the summer of 2017, and Monique talked a little bit about the programs that we offer, but I don't even think she scratched the surface of things that are offered at CNIB Lake Joe. So when I first came, I was attending the Camp Abilities program, which is our sports program with one-to-one coaches for each of the athletes. I was in the triathlon program and ran my first ever mini triathlon. So basically we spent the week training, and then at the end of the week got to compete against our fellow campers. And like I said, this was my first time away from home, and it was incredible. Like I said, I just continued to come back. And then in 2018, I came back first for the Leadership in Training program, which was essentially a more leadership side of things for the young adults, where we got to learn different skills and help out with the younger campers. Then I came back a second time with the National SCORE program, which is a program that develops post-secondary skills and career skills for youth with sight loss. And then I came back a third time in the same summer for our family week. So I packed up the rest of my family, my sister and 2 parents, and we all went to camp for a week. And I don't know who had a better time, me or my family, because they got to meet other families with members of the families who had sight loss. So my parents got to meet other parents with children with sight loss. I got to meet other youth with sight loss. We even got to meet other adults with sight loss who gave me some valuable experience for my time growing up. And it was absolutely incredible. And so I think that just goes to show how good that just initial first experience was, especially with the Capabilities program, having that one-to-one coaching definitely made me feel supported and like I had everything I needed to be away from home and not feel any of those scared or nervous feelings. It just was absolutely a summer of fun. Then I came back in 2019 as a staff member. So I came back as a program facilitator and basically got to spend my entire summer there, which I think I already did in 2018 basically, which was also incredible. And then I also got to come back again last year as our virtual arts and crafts coordinator. So I've seen a lot of different aspects of Lake Joe. And Lake Joe has also been a lot of firsts for me. Lake Joe was the first place that I ever met somebody with the same eye condition as me. It was the first place that I ever got to go sailing. It was one of the first places that I got to ride a tandem bike. And I met my very best friend, Alicia, there. When I got there to be there as a staff, I got to develop so many independent life skills, and the staff really become your family. It is an incredibly welcoming place and really just embraces this sense of belonging. Now, like I said, Lake Joe is one of the first places that I got to ride a tandem bike. It wasn't the first. I did have a local group in my hometown, but it was one of the first, and I got to do it with multiple other visually impaired athletes. That is not where my sport journey starts, however. So as I mentioned before, I used to be a gymnast and was a gymnastics coach. So I grew up in essentially sighted sports or non-adaptive sports. And when I was in that sport, I essentially did think that I was having a good time. I got to do some cool things, but I didn't really start to understand how inaccessible the sport was until I got to try adaptive sports. And I didn't realize how non-inclusive the environment was until I got into an environment that I did feel included in. So my next sport that I took part in was also not tandem biking, which was goalball. So goalball is a sport designed specifically for blind and visually impaired athletes, and is basically played in a gymnasium. You have 2 nets at either end, and it is a 3-on-3 sport. Every player wears a set of eye shades, which is essentially an opaque blindfold that you cannot see anything out of, and there is tape with string under it on the floor to create markings that the athletes can feel. It's a game that involves a lot of communication. I started playing out just recreationally, and then eventually got into it competitively, playing on the junior team Ontario at nationals and getting bronze. So like I said, that was the kind of the first experience that I had in adaptive sports, and the change to have an inclusive sport opportunity was incredible. Like I said, I didn't understand how inaccessible gymnastics was for me until I got into something that was accessible. And then I was looking back and I was like, wow, like no wonder I was scared to jump from a low bar to a high bar. I can't see the high bar, like, and nobody understood that. So to have people around you who kind of understood what you needed, and in that sense was just like absolutely breathtaking. And it made me want to get into adaptive sports even more. And I got to try everything. I got to try things like beep baseball and track and field for blind and visually impaired athletes. And at our Capabilities, the first CNIB Lake Joe camp that I went to, I even did get a chance to try 5-a-side soccer. It was not in the capacity that I think it will be in the future, because we just had some pylons set up and we're kicking a ball back and forth with a bell in it. But I'm really excited to see what that has in store. And then my most recent adaptive sport is that I am, as I said, a tandem cyclist. So one of the first times I got to try tandem cycling was at Lake Joe, and like I said, in a recreational group in my hometown. And I did love it. So my family had tried to get me on a bike before, but as you can imagine, as somebody who can't see very well, I can't find a focus point, and my balance is just absolutely awful. I've almost hit people. It's been horrible, and it wasn't, like I said, accessible, and I didn't enjoy it. But when I got on the back of a tandem bike, it really was this feeling of freedom, is the word that comes to mind, because so the way tandem biking essentially works is that there's two people on the same bike, and the person in the front is called the pilot, and they are sighted, and they basically control the gears, the steering, all of that, and then the person who is blind or visually impaired will sit in the back. Our handlebars don't do anything, which is probably for the best, because like I said, I have zero balance. And so I forget where I was in my beginning of my story before that. Okay, so I got to try that at camp, and it was, like I said, absolutely amazing. And then last year, 2 years ago, I graduated high school, and I did my victory lap at the School for the Blind. And that was where I got into it competitively. So I had a teacher who took a group of us to the velodrome or track in Milton, Ontario, and we got to ride around on the track, and got to train. We trained 7 a.m. in the morning, and eventually got to join in races on the track. And I was told that the first time I got on the track that I did not stop smiling. And that was kind of the moment that I knew that I loved it, and that this was something that I wanted to do. So like I said, got up six in the morning, trained for an hour and a half, and really put the work into it. And then once I left the school, I actually got scouted for the development team for Team Ontario, which is what I am currently on. So I have a stationary bike in my basement that I ride 4 or 5 times a week. And actually where I go to school, my pilot lives in the same city. So we are able to get out and ride together out on the roads, because that's not something that I can do necessarily in my hometown right now, because I don't have somebody to ride with me. There's a little bit of logistics behind it when it comes to matching a pilot and a stoker or the person on the back together, because you have to think about weight and height and how the bike's going to move with 2 different people on it. Again, also another sport that involves an incredible amount of communication when it comes to starting, stopping, going up a hill, anything like that. But that is essentially where I'm at in my sports journey. Like I have said a dozen times, it really made the difference having that access to accessible sports. I really do think that for the first 16, 17 years of my life, there was a lack of opportunity to accessible sports. And now to have all of these opportunities like are being offered at Lake Joe is absolutely astonishing. And I am so excited for everybody else to have those opportunities as well. On another note, like I mentioned, I am a little bit of a disability advocate, and was asked to touch a little bit on why I advocate for my disability, the disability community, not my disability community, the disability community. And I think the biggest reason that I advocate for the disabled community is because of what I just mentioned, that I, growing up, did not have access to accessible sports. I did not know anybody in my community who was blind or visually impaired. And places like Lake Joe or the School for the Blind give those opportunities. And I want as many people to know about them as possible. I want people to have those supports in the way that I maybe didn't. I had teachers who were accommodating, and I'm so thankful for that. But I do wish that I had access to some of these supports sooner. So I work every day to advocate to make sure that there are people out there who know that these opportunities exist, and that there is places like CNIB Lake Joe out there that you can go there for a week in the summer, hang out with other kids, get away from your parents for a little while, all sorts of things. So like I said, I've been doing this a lot through my platform, True Faces, which is an online community for individuals with disabilities that my sister and I started to really connect with people all around the globe, which we have done. We even just launched an ambassador program where we now have people from Australia, Greece, UK, US who are all helping us in our mission. And then, as I said, CNIB National Youth Council member, and a couple of things that are irrelevant. And then as far as what's next with me, I continue to work at CNIB Lake Joe. I honestly would do it forever if I could, but this year I'm coming on as the lead for sports and adventure programming, which I'm really excited to work with and help out creating those adaptable sport opportunities. And Lake Joe has also given me the opportunity as a staff member to work with children with disabilities during our youth week and even our family week, which is what I want to do. So right now I said I'm taking early childhood education, and then after that I want to take a program called mental health and disability management, which will give me the knowledge that I need to work successfully with children with disabilities to, again, emphasize that message of giving them the same opportunities and resources that I both had and didn't have. And Lake Joe has absolutely given me the opportunity to do that. And I do think my biggest sport goal at this time, people keep asking me, I am on track with the 4-year program to join Cycling Canada. And maybe one day, I'll end up at the Paralympics. I think that's the absolute dream, the absolute goal. And maybe I will win something just like one of you is about to win something with what I believe is some door prizes. So thank you all for letting me talk your ears off today, and I will pass it back to Sherry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. You can't see, but people are clapping and putting up hand signals on their screen. Oh, you're blowing us kisses. If only we could throw roses on Zoom. You could have made my job easier in terms of a segue. But first, thank you, Emily, really for keeping it real, reminding us all about how life-changing good old camp can be, and the importance of adaptive sports. And, when we look at everyone from the STC, all the members on this call, we are all in this big goal, this big dream, this big ambition together. And Emily, you're a real inspiration to all of us. I just wish that I could burn calories listening to Emily talk about athletics. We do have, as Emily mentioned, some great prizes that CNIB Lake Joe wanted to give to attendees at this session. As we wind down, I do know that Eugene and Tara wanted to say a few words as well. So maybe Eugene?
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Eugene Chong. I am the general manager at CNIB Lake Joe, more affectionately known as the camp director. I am a longtime camp professional. I've been working in camps for well over 25 years, and I just want to say and I am too a product of the camp environment, so I know exactly how important these experiences are that we are providing. So we are just so very excited to see the start of this project at CNIB Lake Joe. And as Mark mentioned, we broke ground last week. And it was highly anticipated. We're really, excited when this opportunity was presented to us to be able to, see what a future this project could have on our campers and participants. So I actually just want to start by thanking the project committee that has been so meticulously managed by Mark Clementi with the tireless support of the STC committee. Planning group, which include Dan Bond, Melanie Taylor, Laith Ross, as well as all the other STC members who have stepped up to give and continue to give towards this project. I also wanted to mention, John Larson won a t-shirt, but I also wanted to have a special mention to John and his team who have assisted in the design of the fully accessible mini golf course, which I think is really going to change the way we are able to deliver this programming at Lake Joe. We are so grateful to be the first Canadian organization selected by the Synthetic Turf Council for their annual the community service project. The last couple of years has been challenging for many of us across, both in the States and in Canada. And our campers and families are eagerly awaiting the return to camp and to experience this new 5-a-side soccer pitch and accessible mini golf course. We are so excited to introduce these accessible and adaptive sport experiences to our campers to even a greater degree. I know Emily sort of mentioned that she had some exposure to five-a-side soccer, but it really took place on a field with pylons and a ball that rattled. And it really wasn't to the extent that we would be able to provide with these new facilities. And who knows, maybe having these experiences at Lake Joe will inspire a future Paralympian like Emily. Our fingers are crossed for you to be that Paralympian. And again, that is such an amazing opportunity. And these are stories that we continue to have here at Lake Joe and are able to provide these experiences to Canadians from coast to coast. Having access to adaptable sports, or having access to sports and recreation programming in general, we understand truly transform lives. And we know the benefits it has for children and adults of all ages in their social, emotional, and physical well-being. And we want to have people realize their potential through these experiences here at Lake Joe, all the while learning how to advocate for themselves and their home communities for adaptive sports, as well as getting involved and being exposed to these experiences. And that is what, you know, the STC and its members are providing to our campers, is that exposure to opportunities that they may have not realized or known before. You know, there is not enough to be said of the work and the commitment that this committee, that STC and the committee is providing to Lake Joe. So we wanted to take this opportunity to provide a heartfelt thank you to the planning committee, as well as each and every one of you on this call, and hopefully those who weren't able to join the call and be able to see, you know, the recording of this, to know that your work that you are doing in supporting this project is truly heartfelt and is going to change lives. And we just wanted to thank you for joining us on this journey, because we are really excited. So on behalf of the campers, staff, alumni, and everyone else who is involved with our organization, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. So I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Tara, who has something else to share, I'm sure. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Hi, everyone. My name is Tara, and I'm manager of philanthropy for CNIB. I've actually been involved with CNIB Lake Joe most of my life, though. I started volunteering at the camp at the sailing program and through some of its sports and rec when I was quite young, in middle and high school. My entire family spent summers up there, and we all got involved as volunteers. I fell completely in love with the camp, saw how every dollar really makes such a difference. Every support that the camp can get, it really goes to change these lives of children and youth and adults and families who have been impacted by blindness and sight loss. So really, we do want to share all of our sincere thanks to you for all of your generous support. And at CNIB Lake Joe, we're so committed to making sure that no one's left behind. That means thinking big, rolling up our sleeves, and getting all that tough stuff done. And we're just so grateful for all of your expertise as leaders and specialists in your respective fields, and your incredibly generous gifts and donations of materials, supplies, and sort of the online donations in kind for construction. Because of you, we can bring this big dream to life for us and for our campers and for our entire community at large. The goal is to secure $150,000 in donations, materials, supplies, and in-kind construction support for this project. As Mark and Dan mentioned earlier, the team's been doing such an incredible job. We're getting close, and really we do appreciate all of your support. We look forward to getting to that finish line over the coming weeks and months with you. We're so excited. Our donors up there, they're so excited too, and excited to get involved and for our campers to have this experience. So we're so grateful. Thank you so much for everything. And we're here to support you through this last sort of pushes a committee. And thank you again. And I'll pass it back over to Mark.
All right. First off, Emily, what a great presentation. We really enjoyed it. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to be involved in this project. From when we started, I guess, Monique, this started last year when I had a small involvement with the Sport Court project, and my father has been involved for years doing work with the CNIB. So this opportunity came about, and the STC board jumping on board, so to speak, and taking it under their wing and doing a community service project here in Canada and for this organization. I really appreciate the opportunity. There are so many people on this call today that I'd like to thank personally for their generosity. Donations of synthetic turf for the soccer pitch, donations of synthetic turf for the mini golf, the soccer equipment, the services to install the project or projects as it works out. The support from cash donations is so helpful to help us reach our goals. This project, for such a great organization, will be a huge success and provide enjoyment for years to come. Thank you again so much. I'm sure we will provide weekly updates or regular updates through the STC website and update emails. We'll hope to get lots of pictures as we go, Melanie, and send them out. Thanks again, everybody. And I don't know, I think I'm passing it back to Melanie. Am I?
I think you kick it back to me. Actually.
Okay, there you go. Dan.
Thank you again, Mark. And if you have any questions or comments, please enter it into the chat box while we wait for any questions by the end. I think we can all agree that Emily stole the show. And what a great representative for such a wonderful organization. I can't think of a better presentation that I've heard in many years. You know, the opportunities that you provide are wonderful, and we are so fortunate to be able to partner with such a great organization too. I know you, our members are wonderful in contributing, you know, money and supplies and you know, products for building the fields and the golf course as well. You know, the mini putt course as well. Thank you so much, Monique, Emily, Tara, Sherry, and Eugene for all your updates as well. So I asked if anyone had any questions. I guess we did such a great job in a short amount of time that we ended early, and no one has any questions.
Dan?
So, yes.
I'm going to jump in for a second.
Sure.
A couple of things that we didn't bring up, and I guess I assume the group knew, but they don't. If you, I'm gonna hope that Melanie maybe can post a picture of the overall site drawing or send it out to this group. John Larson's on the call, and his design team, including his daughter, put together a really cool design for the mini golf that included that the holes 1 through 4 and 6 through 9 spell the word mini golf in Braille. So that was part of a design strategy. US Green Tech have worked with us, and if you look behind my head, my big head, the yellow border around the field is going to be infilled with safe shell, which will be a different texture than the sand TPE infill in the main field, and we hope to be able to keep it that way. So the athletes will be able to feel and hear the difference as they get to the edge of the playing area. The project, the scoreboard that's putting in has special LED lights in it that will allow the visually impaired to see it better. So there's a lot of thought and design aspects that have gone into this with the help of, you know, STC members. And again, just really excited about this project and the end result that we're going to end up with. And Emily, just as a side note, you did your, I guess, victory lap at W. Ross, and currently there's going to, from an accessible, adaptive athlete standpoint, that school next year will have a high contrast dual color track with custom railing for the visually impaired. Just a side note. Anyways, thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations again to all of our door prize winners. We'll get your addresses and make sure that you receive your prizes. So congratulations again. seeing that there's no questions, just want to thank everyone again for your time. And if you have any questions that come up, please email myself or Melanie Taylor, and we're happy to answer them. As Mark mentioned, we're going to try to hold regular updates until the groundbreaking later this, until the opening of the field later this summer. And we hope to be able to hit our goal, our cash donation goal of 25,000, as well as some of the other things that Mark indicated, a few of the items that are still needing to be donated. But thank you again for all of your contributions, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
So
Bye,
much, everyone.
bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.